Hello, this is Priscilla, and I am so excited for our lesson on verbaling today. Our lesson for today is going to be the shrinking lake. What does it mean to shrink? Well, shrinking means to get smaller, to reduce in size. So we're going to talk about the shrinking lake. Now, what is a lake? A lake is a body of water. And with this body of water, it is beginning to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So, for those of you who are participating in the sidebar, please ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer those for you. And for those who are actively participating, I'm excited to hear your voice. All right. We're going to start reading from this page C, The Shrinking Lake. This was written for us by Margaret Rotham, and I will begin. Ricky Mbaza. Sometimes when I don't know the person's name, I take a look at it and just try to sound it out, and I make it sound as if it was written in the sounds of the alphabet. So this is going to be Mbaza. Ricky Mbaza. Has a very English name, but his part of Central Africa is suffering from a problem that few in England would have to put up with. A lack of rain so acute that Ricky's livelihood is literally evaporating away. I would love to have the English weather here in Chad. Then the lake would not go away. Ricky Mbaza lives in the town of Bole, near the shores of Lake Chad, a lake that has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years. A lack of rain is only one of many culprits being blamed for this emerging disaster. Now, as we continue to go through, we'll notice that there's lots of vocabulary that we will have an opportunity to discuss. And one of those vocabulary words will be culprits. Just write it here and there. I am a fisherman. For me, it is like watching my life draining away every day. The fishing is getting worse and worse in the lake. They're getting smaller, and I think the fish breeding has been disrupted by the reduction in area and in depth. Like Chad, it's only a meter deep in most places. I think I hear someone arriving.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, Roxana. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. It's
How are
wonderful.
you?
I'm great. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
What?
So how have you been, Roxana?
I'm great. I'm
Okay.
great, thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So what time of morning is it for you?
It's 10 o'clock of morning.
Okay, good. So you've had breakfast?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is today Friday or Saturday?
Friday.
Friday. Okay. It's the same for me. It's Friday for me as well. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And today's topic is the shrinking lake. All right. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? I'll have you read for us. I'm bringing in today's lesson now. I think you should be able to see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Why don't you start reading here at letter C where it says reading? Could you start reading for me?
Yes, of course. The shrinking lake. Ricky. Ricky.
I'll call it Mbaza.
Mbaza. Ricky Mbaza has a very English name, but his part of Central Africa is suffering from a problem that few in England would have to put up with. A lack of rain so acute that Ricky's livelihood is literally evaporating away.
Okay, good.
I don't know what it's evaporating.
All right, let's stop right there. The word evaporating means to disappear. Sometimes when it rains and it's very, very hot, the water puddles will evaporate very quickly, meaning that they will go away because the heat has dried it up.
Yes, I see.
Okay, so let me read this for you. Ricky Mbaza has a very English name, but his part of Central Africa is suffering from a problem that few in England would have to put up with. A lack of rain so acute that Ricky's livelihood is literally evaporating away. This word acute, A-C-U-T-E, this word means very sharp or very severe. Can you say the word acute?
Acute.
And what does it mean?
It means very sharp.
Or very severe?
I don't know what it means severe.
Okay. Do you know the word serious?
Serious, yeah.
Okay. So
can you write in the chat?
Okay.
Severe.
Yes, because of the type of document, I'll need to write in the chat instead of writing on it. S-E-V-E-R-E. Severe.
Okay.
Also, you may have heard of acute pain. When people go to the hospital, they have acute appendicitis, which means it's very serious. It's very dangerous. It's very painful, acute. It's very intense.
Okay, yes, I understood.
Okay, great. So I would love to I would love to have the English weather here in Chad. Then the lake would not go away. Ricky Mbaza lives in the town of Bole, near the shores of Lake Chad, a lake that has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years. A lack of rain is only one of many culprits being blamed for this emerging disaster. Now, there are quite a few vocabulary words here. Shrunk is the
Yeah,
past, that's the past tense of shrink. And culprits is the one that is responsible. The word culprit means that someone or something is responsible for the happenings here. What is happening? There is lack of rain. So this word culprit and disaster means to destroy. Disaster means to destroy.
what does mean shrink?
Shrink means to get smaller.
Okay.
Shrink means to get smaller.
Yeah.
Let's see what um, let's see what shrinks. When you lose weight, it appears that you have shrunk. You've gotten smaller. Okay, do you understand the culprit?
Yes. Yes. I
Okay.
understood.
I mean, now do you understand culprit?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it mean?
It's someone who
Who has done wrong?
yes who did it's it's someone who did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, shrink is to get smaller. Okay. Hello, Mead. How are you today?
Hello, I'm fine.
Great. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
You are welcome.
All right. So now I will read just the last paragraph and I'll let you start again, Roxana. I am a fisherman. For me, oh, wait just a second, lost my place. I am a fisherman. For me, it is like watching my life draining away every day. The fishing is getting worse and worse in the lake. They are getting smaller, and I think the fish breeding has been disrupted by the reduction in area and in depth. Like Chad, it's only a meter deep in most places. All right. Now, Roxana, would you read again, start again with I would love to have?
Okay. I would love to have the English weather there in Chad. Then the lake would not go away. Rick Ambaza lives in the town of Bol near the shores of Lake Chad, a lake that has shrunk by 90% in the last 50 years. A
40,
lake
40 years.
I'm sorry, 40 years. A lack of rain is only one of many culprits being blamed for this emerging disaster. I am a fishman. For me, it is like watching my life draining away every day. The fishing is getting worse and worse in the lake. They are getting smaller, and I think the fish breeding has been disrupted by the reduction in area and in depth. Lake Chad is only a meter deep in most places.
Okay, and that's only a meter deep in most
Only,
places.
only a meter deep in most places.
And the word meter is just some form of measurement. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, Mead, could I get you to read for me, starting here with Ricky Mbaza?
Okay. Ricky Mbaza has a very English name, but his part of Central Africa is suffering from a problem that few in England would have to put up with a lack of rain so acute that Ricky's livelihood
Good.
is literally um, evaporating
Evap
away
evaporating evaporating
uh,
evaporating.
evaporating away.
Yeah. Mhm. Good.
I would love to have the English weather here in Chad. Then the lake would not go away. Ricky Mbaza lives in the town of Bol the near of the shores of Lake Chad, a lake that has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years. A lack of rain is only one of many uh, ca- culprits
Good.
being blamed for this emerging disaster. I'm a fisherman. For me, it is like watching my life draining away every day. The fishing is getting worse and worse in the lake. They are getting smaller, and I think the fish breeding has been dis- disrupted by the reduction in area and in depth. Lake Chad is only a meter deep in most places.
Okay. And that word is meter. That word is meter deep. Meter deep. Okay. Can you say meter?
Yes, meter deep.
Good. It's meter deep. So now what we've read so far about the shrinking lake is that in Central Africa there's a problem. There's a problem in Central Africa, Roxana. What is the problem? What is the problem in Central Africa right now? Roxana?
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute my microphone.
Okay.
Um, the problem in Central Africa is the lack of rain. It's
Very
very
good.
hot weather.
Okay. Can you use one of the words that we discussed to describe the problem?
Okay, uh, um, in Africa, the lake Chad
Mm-hmm.
um, has shrunk now because of it's not rain.
Okay. Could we say that this is an acute problem?
Yeah, it's so acute problem now
Mm-hmm.
because of many people suffered from it.
Good. So when we say that this is an acute problem, Roxana, what do we actually mean? What do we actually mean when we say something is an acute problem?
When we say an acute problem, we mean that it's very serious problem, serious and sharp problem.
Good.
It's severe.
And what is a severe problem in Central Africa?
A severe problem in Central Africa is the lack of rain.
Wonderful. Now, finally, I want you to tell me what is a serious problem using the word acute.
Uh, um, it's an acute problem in Central Africa is the lack of rain.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I know it took you a second to get, but that's perfect. There's an acute problem in Central Africa, which is a lack of rain. Does that seem to now come together for you, how to use the word acute?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so there is an acute problem in Central Africa due to the lack of rain. Great, great. Mead, can you summarize something for me in that passage that we just read?
Yes. In Central Africa, there is a problem. They which is the lake of Chad. Uh, the lake has shrunk by 90% the
Okay.
last 40 years.
Great. Now tell me, what does the word shrunk mean? Mead?
It means making something smaller.
Great. Excellent. So the lake has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years. Now, Mead, can you tell me two things? One, you can tell me what Roxana told me, and then tell me again what you told me. For example, there's an acute problem in Central Africa, and it's due to the lack of rain. You can also add to that that the lake has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years. So you have two things that you can tell me. Mead, could you tell me those two things?
Again?
Yes.
Okay, so say it again.
Yes, please.
I'm asking you, can you repeat it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. I want you
Okay.
to tell me these two things. I want you to tell me that there is an acute problem in Central Africa, and it is that there's a lot of rain. Also, the lake has begun to shrink, or the lake has shrunk by 90%.
Okay. Um, the acute problem in Africa is a lack of rain.
Mm-hmm. Good.
What is the second thing you asked me?
And your sentence was the lake has shrunk by 90%. Remember, the lake has shrunk by 90%?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to tell me that. Tell me those two things. I want you to tell me those two things. I want you to tell me that there is an acute problem in Central Africa due to the rain, and the lake has shrunk by 90%.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Mead. How much has the lake shrunk? Mead, how much has the lake shrunk?
90%
Great.
in the last 40 years.
In the last 40 years, the lake shrunk by 90%.
Mm-hmm.
How much has the lake shrunk, Mead?
The lake has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years.
Good. And what is the acute problem in Central Africa, Mead?
The acute problem is a lack of rain.
Good. And how much has the lake shrunk?
90%.
Okay, good. Now tell me those two things. There is an acute problem in Central Africa, and the lake has shrunk by 90%.
Okay. There is an acute problem in Central Africa, which is a lack of rain.
Mm-hmm.
The the lake has shrunk by 90% in the last 40 years.
Great, excellent. All right, now this Ricky Imbaza is a fisherman. That's what he does to take care of his wife and his children. But because the lake is shrinking and it has shrunk by 90%, this acute problem that is in Central Africa is draining his life away. The word draining means to exhaust, to go away. If we think about a drain in the kitchen sink and the water is going out, it's leaving. It's almost as if his life is dying. He's dying because there's not enough fish in the lake. And the reason there's not enough fish in the lake is because there's not enough water. And the water is shrinking. That is what has happened in the lake. Now, Roxana, in this sentence, we talk about draining. For me, it is like watching my life drain away every day. If his life is draining away every day, that means he's dying a little every day. Would you agree with that, Roxana?
Yeah, yes, maybe it's getting worse and worse every day.
Yes, excellent. His life is getting worse and worse every day. Roxana, why is his life getting worse and worse every day?
Because he's a fisherman, and because of lack of rain, the lake shade is shrinking.
Yes, it's shrinking. Excellent. It's shrinking.
Yeah, and the fish amount of fish is uh, I don't know how to say amount
Getting,
of fish.
it's getting small. It's getting smaller.
Yeah, and he's not have enough fish, and he's not have enough food, and because of it, his life getting worse and worse.
Good.
Because he's don't have enough work for him, and he don't go through it because maybe he's has a family and about it.
Yeah, because he has a family. And if his life is draining away, he cannot feed his family. There are no fish in the lake because the lake is being shrunk. The lake is getting smaller and smaller, which means that the lake is shrinking. The lake is shrinking, getting smaller and smaller because of the acute problem of the water. There is no rain. That is the acute problem. So the acute problem of no rain and a shrinking lake is draining away at Ricky's life. So Roxana, now we know three things. We know that there is an acute problem in Central Africa. We know that the lake has shrunk. We also know that Ricky is a fisherman and his life is draining away. Can you tell me those three things?
Yeah, we know that there is acute problem in Central Africa. There is a lack of rain, and the lake shade has shrunk. It getting smaller and smaller every day. And there is Ricky Mbaza, who is fisherman, and his life is his life is draining away every day because of uh, because of it because of
This
uh,
acute problem, because of the acute
this acute
problem.
problem. Yes.
Great, excellent. Mead, could you tell me the three things that we now know about the shrinking lake?
Yes. There is a problem in Central Africa, which is the shrink of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ricky Mbaza, watching his life draining away
Mm-hmm.
and getting worse and worse
Okay,
because the lake is shrinking.
great. Now, Roxana and Mead, are you understanding what is happening with the shrinking lake?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So now when I ask you these questions, I want you to answer very quickly for me. I want you to answer very quickly for me. Try to think of the vocabulary that I want you to use, which would be acute, shrinking, and draining. If you can think of other vocabulary to use, that will be great. But I want you to try to remember to use these vocabulary words up to this point. So, Roxana, what is the problem in Central Africa?
There is acute problem with lack of rain.
Good. That's good. There's an acute problem with the lack of rain. Mead, what is the problem in Central Africa?
It is the shrink of the lake.
Very good. It is a shrinking lake. Now, in addition to the shrinking lake, Roxana, what is the cause of the shrinking lake? Roxana?
The cause of the shrinking lake is that fishing is getting worse and worse every day.
Okay. I want you to use every time I want you to try and use one of the vocabulary words. Draining, acute, or shrunk.
Okay.
You the answers are going to be the same pretty much. Okay? So what is the problem with the shrinking lake? Why is there a shrinking lake, Roxana?
The
The acute lack of rain.
is the reason is acute problem with lack of rain.
Good. Okay, good. That is the problem. Mead, there is an acute lack of rain. What other problems are there in Central Africa?
Uh, shrinking lake.
Good. A shrinking lake. So, Roxana, now we know two things. What two things do we know is a problem in this story?
There is two problem. It is there is um, like there is acute lack of rain,
Mm-hmm.
and second is shrinking of the lake shed.
Good, good. And last, Mead, I'm going to ask you this last question. What is this doing to Ricky's life? What is this lack of rain, this acute lack of rain, and the shrinking lake doing to Ricky's life?
Um, they are draining away his life every day.
Mm-hmm. Good. That is the good answer. These two things are draining away his life every day. All right. Now I'm going to continue reading. Ricky struggles now to provide enough food and income for his wife, Akta, and their 4 children. Akta has had to take up pottery in her spare time in order to try and boost the amount of money coming into the household every month. All right. So, could I get you to read that same thing, Roxana?
Yes. Ricky struggles now to provide enough food and income for his wife, Ekta, and their 4 children. Ekta has had to take up pottery in her space time in order to try and boost the amount of money coming into the household every month.
Okay. Now, this word spare, that's SPARE, spare time, in her spare time. That means her time that she doesn't have to cook, take care of her children, wash clothes, anything that she normally would have to do, she's not doing it now. This is what is called her spare time. All right?
It's leisure time. Yes.
Yes, good. It's her leisure time. So what does she do in her leisure? What does Ricky's wife do in her leisure?
Uh, she's um, sh- she's doing pottery.
And what is pottery?
Pottery. Um, it's some maybe plates or
Mhm.
um, some stuff for
Okay.
eating.
Okay. Great. Now, is she doing the pottery in her spare time because she wants to, or does she have another reason for doing it? Why is she making pottery in her spare time?
Because she has to do it because they don't have enough money, and maybe she's doing for sale.
hmm She's doing it perhaps to sell. She does it in her spare time, and she does this in her spare time because there's an acute problem in Central Africa, and this.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
she has an acute problem in family because they don't have money. It's acute problem with money
Yes,
and food.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yay! There is an acute problem in the family. You're getting the idea of using the word acute. So there's an acute problem in her family. So she's making pottery to help bring in money for the family. Thank you. Okay, Mead, could you read the same thing? Ricky struggles.
Okay. Ricky struggles now to provide enough food and income for his wife, Akta, and their 4 children. Akta has had to take up pottery in her spare time in order to try and boost the amount of money coming into the household every month.
Great. Now, why does ACTA work? Mead, why is ACTA working?
To try and boost the amount of money coming.
Okay, and what is she doing to boost the income for the family?
She takes up pottery in her spare time.
Okay, and why does she have to work apart from bringing in more money? Why is it necessary? Why is it necessary?
Uh, uh, because they have acute problem. They don't have money.
Great, they have an acute problem, and it is the lack of money. Now, Mead, why is it that they don't have enough money? What caused the problem?
Uh, mm, because of the shrinking lake
Yes,
and
yes,
a lack of rain.
yes, excellent. You girls are doing wonderful. All right, I'll start here. Our rent doesn't go down with the level of the lake, unfortunately. Mbazi complains. We still have 6 mouths to feed, but I need assistance from the government. They have left me to fend for myself in a desperate situation. Now, this word unfortunately means something that is not good, something that does not work in the favor of Mbazi. So he complains, which means that he's sad. He talks about the situation, and he talks about the situation in unpleasant ways. He has children that he has to feed, and he needs help from the government. This word fend, F-E-N-D, means to work. He has to find a solution. The word fend means to find a solution. And the word desperate means something very serious, something that is causing him to be out of sorts. Okay? Now, Roxana, how many mouths does Mbazi have to feed?
He has to feed 6 months, but I don't understand exactly what does it mean. Uh, feed to feed.
Oh,
He,
he has,
he has to pay, or he.
well, what he means by he has 6 mouths to feed. We eat with our mouth, so he has to find enough money to feed his family. And he counts himself as one, he counts his wife as one, and he has 4 children. How many mouths are those?
Oh, and months.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he has 6 months to feed. It's
Mm-hmm.
his wife and 4 children,
That's correct. So
and
he
he
has to
himself.
continue.
And he himself.
Right. So that makes 6. That's Mbazi, not Mbazi, but Ricky, Mbaza, his wife, and his 4 children. Those are 6 mouths that he has to feed. But there's an acute problem in Central Africa. The acute problem is the lake is shrinking, and it's draining away at his life. So his wife Acta has to take up pottery to help with the income so that he can feed his family. All right. Could you read that for me, Roxana? Our rent?
Read this. Okay. Our rent doesn't go down with the level of the lake, unfortunately. And Baza complains, we still have 6 months to feed, but I need assistance from the government. They have left me to fend for myself in a desperate situation.
Good, thank you. Now, Mead, how many mouths does Mbaza have to feed?
She has 6 mouths to feed.
Good. And who are those 6 mouths that he has to feed? Who are they?
Her wife and his wife and his 4 children.
Okay. So his wife is 1, his 4 children makes 5. Who is the 6th person?
The man.
Himself. Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ricky, his wife, and 4 children are the 6 mouths. What is the problem, Mead, that has been caused there in Central Africa? What is the problem?
The lack of rain and the shrinking lake.
Good. The acute lack of rain and the shrinking lake. What does his wife have to do because of the acute lack of rain and the shrinking lake? What does Ricky's wife have to do?
She has to take up the pottery.
That's good. She has to take up pottery. Could you read that passage for me, Mead?
Okay. our rent doesn't go down with the level of the lake. Unfortunately, Imbaza complains, we still have 6 months to feed, but I need assistance from the government. They have left me to fend for myself in a desperate situation.
In a desperate situation. So Mead,
Desperate.
mhm. So Mead, Ricky talks about fending for himself. He says that he has to fend for himself in a desperate situation. When he says he has to fend for himself, that means he has to provide for himself, but he needs help. Who does Ricky want to help him fend for himself in this acute situation?
Um, he needs help from his government.
hmm In this acute situation, Ricky needs help from his government. Who does Ricky need help from? Mead?
Uh, he needs help from his government.
Great. Could you describe Ricky's situation?
Uh,
Maybe you can use
uh,
the word acute.
yes, he has a acute problem
Good.
in Central Africa
Mm-hmm.
uh, because of the lack of rain, the
Mm-hmm.
acute lack of rain, and the shrinking lake.
Mm-hmm.
His wife has to take up pottery in her spare time to
Good.
help him uh, in income,
Great.
and he has to feed 6 months.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Now let's read. While one can understand Ricky Mbazi's frustration with his government, his accusatory tone is perhaps a little unfair. The Chad government has often seemed like a powerless, rudderless boat caught in the storm of international politics. Wow, that's a big sentence to digest. So, Ricky Mbaza is very frustrated. What does frustrated mean, Roxana?
He's very sad.
He's very sad. And who is he very sad with?
He is very sad with
Good.
his government.
Great. So Ricky Mbaza is frustrated with his government. Mead, who is Ricky frustrated with?
He is frustrated with his government.
Very good. Ricky Mbaza is frustrated with his government. His accusatory tone is perhaps a little unfair. The word accusatory means to blame. This word accusatory is difficult for me to even pronounce. So I'm going to ask Roxana
Your
first.
native speaker.
Yes, and it's difficult for me to pronounce. So it's almost as if it's a tongue twister with the accusatory. As soon as I get the ku out, I have to change the way that the air is coming from my mouth. Accusatory. So I have to say it slower, very slowly. Accusatory. 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 All right. So Roxana, can you say the word accusatory?
Accusatory.
Wow, that's perfect. Perfect. Mead, could you try?
Accusatory.
Wow. Well, you two are doing it easily. That's great. Now, when we use the word accusatory, it is to accuse someone of something. For example, if you've heard me talk about the story of the thief was accused of taking things from the store. The thief was accused for breaking into the home. Accuse means to charge someone for doing something, to claim someone did something. It's an accusation. So this
Yeah.
accusatory. And it's
Is
his
it
tone.
adjective?
It is to describe. Yes, it would be an adjective. It would be to describe something. Okay?
Okay.
So what is it that Ricky accusing his government of? What is he accusing his government of?
Oh,
He's accusing his government of not helping out.
yes, he need their assistance, but they left them find this problem for himself,
And what does fend mean?
and it means resolve.
Mm-hmm. Good. So he's accusing his government of letting him fend or resolve this problem by himself. So now, Roxana, we have several words that I want you to try and use for me. I want you to use accuse or accusatory. Good, yay! I want you to use fend. I want you to use shrunk. I also want you to use acute. What is going on in this story now?
Now it's about it's about um, Ricky and Baz has very Ricky and Baz is very frustrated, and he has accusatory tone because of his government can't help him. He has to find this acute problem for himself.
Mm-hmm. Good. Now, I'm hoping that as you're using these words, it's becoming easier and easier for you to use them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I'd like for you to do the same, Mead. I'd like for you to focus on the word bend, accusatory, shrunk, and acute.
Okay.
Okay.
What I have to do?
I want you to tell me the story up to this point. Tell me the story and try to use those words.
From the beginning?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Ricky Mbaza has a acute problem in
Mm-hmm.
Central Africa
Good.
because of the lack of rain and shrinking lake.
Mm-hmm.
He has to feed 6 mouths,
Good.
and his wife has to take pottery in her spare time.
Mhm.
He accuses his country
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't help him.
Mm-hmm. Good. Very nicely done, both of you. We learned, or we're using at least 4 of the vocabulary words today. And while you understand the story, what I want you to be able to do is to deliver this in conversation with the vocabulary that you're using and you're learning. Now, it is a slow process. Building vocabulary is a slow process, but once you get that momentum going, you'll start to see these words again and again and again in many things that you'll start to read. And you will be able to fully understand when to bring these words into your conversation. For example, the more we talk this evening or this morning, the time has appeared to shrink away. The time has gone away. The time has evaporated. It has shrunk. Now, this is not an acute problem for us because we can come back tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month. As long as we're members of Verbaling, we can continue to come and help our English speaking skills grow. We have that opportunity to do so. What is an acute problem for some is that they cannot become good standing members and participants. I'm not accusing them of not being able to speak English well or quickly, but I am sure that you will do better by participating on a regular basis. So let's talk for a while, trying to remember how to use the words that we just learned. So we'll start with you, Roxana, and there's no particular order. We're just talking, trying to use the words that we've learned so far.
Oh, okay. I think that um, that acute problem of my speaking in English is that I don't have no, accused problem in speaking in English is the lack of amount of the vocabulary, and I agree with you that it's long. It's we have to spend a lot of time to build our vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's very good thing that I realized that some some new word um, becoming more and more easier
Good.
in the uses.
Good. And that is what will happen, Roxana. The more you use a word, the easier it becomes to use the word. The more you use it, the easier it will become. It does not appear that you have difficulty understanding what you read, but when you're speaking, you just need the practice. So this lack of practice is the acute problem of the language learner, not having enough opportunities. But in this case, as a member of Verbaling, you're having many opportunities to use the word acute. So you have to fend for yourself. That means find every opportunity. Fend for yourself, which means to find every opportunity to speak in conversational English. So now let's listen to Mead try with her efforts to use some of the vocabulary words for today.
I have acute problem with my speaking in English, and this problem is draining away my time because
Good.
I spend so much time to learn English and practice English with the people. I always try to find myself to practice speaking skill with the people, and sometimes I feel that I'm frustrated because I'm not a good speaker.
Oh, okay. Well, let me caution you here, Mead, and share this with you as well, Roxana. Yes, you are going to feel frustrated, but don't dwell on the frustration because every day you are learning something. Every day that you're practicing, you're learning more and more and more. So keep practicing, keep coming to the Verbaling classes, and you will learn. Once you learn words, though, I encourage you to practice those words. This is what would be called fending for yourself. when you're taking responsibility, just as Ricky did to feed his family, he had to fend for his family by finding a way. So you are fending for yourself, Roxana and Mead, by finding a way to practice conversational English. Well, I'm going to say thank you both for attending class today. It was a joy. I learned a lot. I learned how to use the word uh, accusatory, or not use it, but to say it a little bit better. But you did wonderfully with that word. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.